Democrats are finally starting to get serious about trying to prevent Donald Trump from holding office again here in the United States. So a group of them, a handful really, from the House of Representatives, have been talking with legal scholars, including Laurence Tribe, about how they can do anything at all to prevent Donald Trump from becoming president again, because polls show if Trump were to run again, especially against Biden if he runs for a second term, it looks like Trump could easily win that election, and that's a terrifying thought. So one of the possible solutions they've come up with is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment that says that office holders who have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same are disqualified from future office. Short, sweet, simple, and kind of hard to prove, unfortunately. Now, we know, of course, based on the available evidence, Donald Trump's office was in fact spreading tons of lies about the election being stolen, and they also had plenty of different plans, some of them laid out in a PowerPoint, on how to overthrow the results of the 2020 election. Does that rise to the level of insurrection? Is that sedition? That would be a question that the courts would have to determine. And since they did not put any of these plans in motion, they had wanted to, don't get me wrong, but without actual action on those plans, it turns into just a group of people talking in a room. So that's a little bit more difficult to prove. On the other hand, maybe that's not the route to go. Maybe you look at what Donald Trump said at that rally. Go and fight like hell or you're not going to have a country anymore. Now, to me, that particular language does seem to suggest that Donald Trump is encouraging people to go do the insurrection, which of course would be sedition, and that would fall under this definition. The problem with that is that you've got to be able to convict him for it. We can't just go out there and say, yep, Trump did an insurrection, 14th Amendment says you can't run for office again, you're done, haha. No, it has to be a legal judgment. You have to have a specific ruling from a court that stands up upon appeal that says that he did in fact do this. Once you have that, then of course you invoke the 14th Amendment. He is barred from holding office ever again, case closed. But it's getting the judgment that is going to be so incredibly difficult. But of course, the Democrats in the House say, wait, we may have a plan for that as well. They have crafted legislation that would allow for the Attorney General to make the case that this guy did in fact engage in an insurrection before a 3-judge panel. The 3-judge panel would then make the determination. It would be a relatively easy process. Very quick, it's not a full-blown trial, but if you do that without a full-blown trial, you could also run into some constitutional issues and it may be less likely to hold up with the Supreme Court. So I guess all of this is to say that there are ways to prevent Donald Trump from running for office again. But I think that these ways require so much effort and so many things to go right. In fact, not just go right, it has to go perfectly, that I would almost categorize these as impossible. Instead, what we need to do is continue the work on the January 6th Select Committee. The Democrats need to continue or start delivering for the American public. Make it to where nobody would even want to vote for Trump again. That's what you have to do. You can't just say, haha, we got you. Okay, cool. Then the next mini-Trump is going to come up right behind him. Democrats have to give people something to vote for, not just something to vote against. And that's the part of this message that they're missing. Everybody wants to stick it to Trump, sure. But there's a dozen of little Trumps out there waiting in the wings for when he no longer runs for office. They're just as dangerous, if not more so, because they've learned from his mistakes, whereas he has not. So get busy on real legislation. Get busy providing goods for the American public, and then we wouldn't have to worry about all these little Trumps because nobody would be attracted to them because they'd remember which party actually made their life better. That is the simplest solution, but based on what we've seen so far, that may be just as impossible as using the 14th Amendment to bar Trump from holding office again.
This is Hattie. Hattie wants to know why you have not subscribed to our channel. You obviously like our videos, so do us a favor and subscribe.